Good.
Good evening. Would you stand with me, please, while we do the invocation and pledge of allegiance? Rock Smith, please.
That's right. Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. Thank you for the ability to be in the country, Father, to worship you and come and listen to what the city's businesses are about, Father. We thank you for that. And Lord, we pray that you give every worker in the city, give every council person, Father, everyone that touches the city, Father. Protect them, keep them safe, is healthy, Father, and everyone here in attendance, Father. Bless them, listen to their prayer requests, Lord. We ask these things. Amen.
Councilman Mancuso, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started this evening, I noticed that we've got several members of the Friends of Vienna with us this evening, and I think I can speak for City Council. I know I can speak for the majority of the people in town in the Mid-Ohio Valley that the efforts that you all put forth for the Freedom Festival were fantastic. I don't think that the Mid-Ohio Valley's had any kind of a celebration for as long as I can remember. And I think it was very fitting that a lot of people, when they first heard the name Home Free, said, "Who is that?" And I'll guarantee you they will never forget them, because that was absolutely fantastic. And so, Jack and the rest of your team, I'll be honest with you, we could not have done it without you all. We wouldn't have tried to do it without you all. I know that you spent months coordinating things and putting everything together. But I just have to say, if it weren't for people like you that were willing to donate the time and the effort to make it something so special, I mean, people are still talking about it. It was fantastic. It really was. And so if I could ask council, I'd like a standing ovation for those folks. And I know you, Jack, I know you have something to say, so please do it.
Okay, you want to say it now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, good, thank you. I really like the board up with me too, so it's here. We just basically wanted to come tonight and thank the mayor, the recorder, and the city council for the opportunity to come before you, the members of the Friends of Vienna, as we wrap up this Freedom Festival and we start to look ahead about what we're going to do and how we proceed. I'd like to introduce some of the board members to you. Some of them you already know, some of them you don't. Rod Smith. Rod was his duty, he was in charge of fireworks down there for the event. So we now call him Rocket Man because, partway through the event, I looked at somebody and I said, how much money did we spend on fireworks? What did Rod tell us an average firework display was? Because it was a little bit above the average. So, Teresa Smith, who, you all know, she did a lot of work down there during the festival with the parade and with everything. You always saw her on the go. Everybody was always on the move. Different projects going on, and she did a lot of work for it. Melissa Winston, who's not here, works with Thompson's Landscaping. She couldn't be here, but she handled a lot of the finances, paying the bills and all the work and, the telephone calls. Did we get this check? Did we get that check? Who used a credit card? What's a credit card? All those questions that you get. Lisa Johnson with PDJ Accounting, who's always done our accounting work and is works with us on the board. Jody Hopkins, with Washington Prime and Grand Central Mall. Amanda Mott is here. Amanda with Community Bank. She hasn't been on the board very long, but she was put in charge of the parking lot at Grand Central Mall. And
That's all there was.
That's all. And I mean, she was chasing
it all.
everybody out of the lot. It was like that car doesn't belong. So she was heading over, so it's like, okay, Amanda, go. Lexi Miller with Curtis Miller Insurance. It has not been on the board for a long time, but again, was down working the parking lot, working with Amanda and Darla on sales of everything that we tried to sell down there. They put a lot into it. Also, Lexi worked on some of our insurance through the time. With her experience in insurance, she was involved with working with us on that. Darla Batten with Vienna Realty was down there, and she was another one that was down there on Friday and was like, what do you need me to do? What do you want me to do? Her heart rate was hitting 138, but she was still on the blacktop trying to do what she could. And it's just, great members to have. Kalita Deems with the West Virginia School of Osteopathic was there, and she had some of the young doctors that were going through the school that were there, as well as some other nurses that she had managed to bring in that were there so we could have a first aid station there at the event. Randy Deems, her husband, works at DuPont. He was there assisting with the first aid station. Barbara Joyce, who's a board member, and she was there. She was determined that no matter what, she was going to be there, even though her son was telling her it was too hot to be there. You weren't going to tell her no, and you weren't going to stop her. She was going to be there. So Jen Wright with the Bodega, who's on the board and handled a lot with the food vendors and everything. And ex officio, my wife is still sitting back there, and we're making her a board member. She handled all the budgetary stuff. And she's listened to me talk about the Freedom Festival to the point that she's nauseated with it. That like on Christmas morning, she's like, Jack, just please, God, can we open the Christmas presents without you talking about Freedom Festival here today? So we have a lot of husband-wife teams that we have on there because it does become a part of the way of your life. We are going to have another member on, here in the near future, correct? Sometime, we've been talking with him. He was down there working. But just to tell you a little bit, thank you to the Vienna officials for your support. I think it actually went off pretty good. The festival, Rick Robb, 3 Purple Hearts, I think it was wonderful having him there, and as the Grand Marshal of the parade. The parade went off pretty good. I thought, I was at the point that the parade was going on. I was over in front of the stage because we were trying to get ready for Home Free, which was a complete experience to go through. I had no idea what kombucha was, so when I got a text at 6 o'clock in the morning that the band would like to have kombucha, I'm like, where you find? Would you kill it, trap it, eat it, drink it? I mean, what do you do with it? So, but it was amazing to go through that part. The music, I want to tell you, all the bands that were there, local bands and everything. The 249th Army Band that was there, those people played right out in the sun. We purchased a stage because we could not put them on the stage because there was such a large set for Home Free that we actually purchased an additional stage so that we could honor them and they could perform on a stage versus being on the blacktop. And it didn't have a roof to it, and they sat out there in the sun playing, and everybody thought they were wonderful. We provided meals, or had meals provided for them from the Outback afterward. The rest of the music, Jason Nix, who was from Kentucky by way of New Orleans, and who was the opening act that many people heard, he absolutely decided he adopted Vienna afterwards. He was going through the crowd. He said, this is my kind of town. I love the people. He was just carrying on. He said, please have me back. I'll come back anytime. Call me. And he's an award-winning writer of music. He wrote the top song of the year, and I can't think who the lady is that sings it, what her name is. But anyway, just a great guy. The hot air balloon, was another thing that went off. And I know Melissa and I had spoke at one time about, boy, it'd be nice if we could do stuff coming upwards into the city and everything. And the opportunity kind of availed itself where we were able to have the hot air balloon and to have it up into the city. And it was just, we were just smiled on through the whole way. I mean, the weather was perfect for the guy to come up. At one time, I understood there were 500 people there, 300 people in line. So a lot of people got to experience it. Afterwards, the hot air balloon guy said, if you do it next year, bring 2 hot air balloons, provide food down there too, have a food vendor. So it went off very well. The carnival was good. I know the carnival put over 800 kids through the carnival on Saturday. He actually cut his fee. He was going to charge $20 for a wristband, which most people considered, reasonable, but he cut it down to $10. So everything went well. The fireworks, in case you don't know, have been viewed over 800,000 times. At this point, there was a video made of the grand finale of it, and but the day after the festival, the fireworks have been viewed over 250,000 times, and as of date, I think it's 830 some thousand times. I just tell you, the Freedom Festival for many of us was like owning our own business. We slept with it when we could. We woke with it. We ate with it. We prayed with it. We celebrated with it. We celebrated holidays with it, and we experienced deaths with it. The group was dedicated to doing it. I can tell you that for a fact. Why were they dedicated to it? Because they wanted to promote our town, our businesses, and our citizens, and they wanted people to enjoy themselves. They wanted people to experience laughter because they've been locked up with COVID. They wanted to represent the city. They wanted the city to be able to put their chest out and say, here, we did this. And I think that's been accomplished. We've had people that were here from Tennessee, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Virginia, Illinois, and Canada. One family of 8 came down from Canada and brought their dog with them and came down to see home free and experience it. Our feeling is it can be a springboard stuff for the city with riverfront development and everything we're talking about doing. I think this shows that the city can draw if you provide events, that maybe we take the river for granted way too much because we've experienced all of our life, but there's opportunities here to embrace and to go forward as a city of things that can be done. Friends of Vienna would be glad to be a part of it in any way we could. We made some wonderful contacts through the event that I hope we can carry on. The stage people from Bridgeport, what a wonderful guy, does stuff all over various states. The sound people, Jim Sweeney, Results Radio, and all these people have said we'll do what we can in the future to work with you guys in any endeavor that you do. So it's contacts we're going to pursue through this winter. One of the things I'll tell you, a portable event center is something to put on your radar that nobody's probably ever considered. But with you doing the development at the riverfront, and with this area not having an event center, they actually do make portable event centers, and you can rent them. They hold up to 3,000 to 5,000 people. They're gigantic. They've got air conditioning. They've got lighting with them. And I gave the information to Rick Modisett, who's carrying it on through to the CBB, because the county has actually talked about maybe on a county level looking at something like that. We've just a lot of the contacts, and I don't want to take too much more of your time, but I do want to express our thanks for a lot to you all for your support. Also want to thank the Vienna Volunteer Fire Department that was down there. Wonderful. They had the fire truck. They flew the American flag, which was all about celebrating our flag, not walking on the flag, not bowing for anything, not taking a knee, but standing for it. There's a generation of kids that need to understand that. I also want to thank the Vienna Police Department, who it was wonderful when we were down there with them. And I was thinking, my God, these guys got to be hot and they got to be terrible. And I didn't know whether to walk up to them, walk by them, sneak by them, or how to handle it. So, but I went by and one of them stopped and I said, hey, Jack, I want to tell you something. We support this. The city needs more of this. We need this. People need this. And I thought, that's lifting. It was so lifting for us to hear comments like that through Public Works, unbelievable the work that was done there from Public Works being there and their help and their input. And Craig Metz, who was there all weekend, provided a trailer for us to get in, air conditioning. He was there every day, lending us support in some way. The Parks Department came down on Friday and helped put up the tents for the festival and helped pack some of the coolers with ice. I'd like to tell you this at this point, that all our bills are paid. We didn't have to go into next year's, or we didn't have to backfill or anything like that. All our bills are paid, everything's paid. We're looking, we're concluding, we're reaching out to people what we can do better if we do it. I mean, it's a board, we want to consider everything and look at next year. What can we do? A lot of lessons to learn from it. It's pretty much all I've got to say. It's just generally from our heart. It's been such a pleasure to work with, these people on the board. I know the hours. I know the time they put into it. And I know the effort, and I know why they did it. There can always be criticism. But I'll tell you this, I think there's a lot more to be proud of than to criticize. So, pleasure doing it for the city. And I thank each one of you. So, thank you very much. Yeah. Do you all want to say anything? I could have talked the rest of the evening, I guess.
Jack, I have a question. Do you know how many were in attendance for the concert and the fire?
Yeah,
what were the numbers that you've heard?
The area right in front of the stage, we had estimated out. This is Randy Deems. Randy's the one with DuPont that ran the medical. But the area right in front of the stage, we'd measured it out because we had concerns because we were hearing numbers around 10,000 to be there. But the area right in front of the stage, we estimated 6,200 to 6,400 it could hold, and that wasn't including the road, the outer band road. So at the point that the band, I talked with the police department about what they felt, and they said 5,200 to 5,500 were directly right there in front of the stage, not counting the road area background and by the outback that you could have added another 1,000 into it, and then 800 up around the side of Penny's, and I forget, but the ended up totals of what we figured right during the festival was about 7,000 to 7,500. The parking lots were all full. Total numbers that they projected through the day and talking to them was in the 10, 11, possibly 12,000 people that were going through. Sunday was slow. It was kind of anticipated. Part of what you figure out what you can do on Sunday, and we've got ideas. I mean, there's ideas for Sunday. So, but yeah, I think the numbers were great, and the numbers were good for what was out of the area. The mall said that they hadn't had the traffic through the mall that they have seen. Like that, the food court was clear back around to the inside. Pets Plus said that they had all 4 cash registers going all day. Penny's, I think, experienced a 10 or 15% increase in sales on the day. The ATM machines ran out of cash in the area down there, and we haven't been able to reach out to the other businesses. Alone what it did for business, and I was up to gas stations and stuff, was what it did, people's comments on the community and what they saw. And we had the shrubbery, we had the trees done, the mulch done along the trees on Friday, just previous to the event, so it'd be all nice, fresh looking for people come into the town and everything. So we did the best we could. We can do better. We'll see. Anything.
Jack, thank you, and thank your group. It was, as I said, fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
If you all have homework to do, you're dismissed. We always let the high school kids go early, so. I'd like to call to order this regular session of the Vienna City Council for July the 14th, 2022. Like the record reflect that I've taken roll that all members of council are present. Having a quorum, we will proceed. First item on our agenda this evening is the public forum. We have 2 people that have signed up to speak, and we will start with Kelly Craft.
Hello, my name is Kelly Craft. I live at 357th Street, and I just want to say I am a key holder also at Bath and Body, and that weekend was one of our top days on Saturday. I had told them that everything that was going to happen, and they scheduled extra people, and it was a fabulous day inside the mall as well. So I didn't work, I was outside. The other thing I want to talk about, I came back in June and talked to the council about a situation with our yard and the school traffic from Greenmont. Thought things would get better in the summer. Since I talked June 9th, I think was the last council meeting. we have had 2 more incidences where I had already redid our yard, and we've got 2 more ruts that have popped up. One of my flower pots was dragged down to my neighbor's yard. Someone had hit it and drug it down there. Since then, we had a truck come and turn the corner from, well, this,
Yeah, you can, on the side, right, yeah.
way too. This is the corner of 3rd Avenue and 57th, which is across the street from our house. So the truck was coming towards our house from the school, turning down towards the river. And of course, this house is there. And when they made the turn, they hit from, I would say, about my shin area, clear to the 2nd story of the house. That's on up. There's the 2nd story. That's how high the truck was that turned that corner. This is the 3rd truck that my husband has witnessed hit that. This one has to be replaced. I called the power company, and they're supposed to be sending someone in to look at it, but it just shakes if there's a big wind. So, I mean, it is a danger, and the telephone's tall enough and our house is close enough. If it comes our way, it's going to hit our house. My husband and I have discussed about we did find the, what are those called? Yeah, where they're posted.
Survey.
Yeah, the survey posts. So we did find those. And we had talked about it. I would really, really, really like the city council to consider making that a one-way before we go to the expense of extending the road into our yard and making a curb. Why spend the money not knowing that that's going to work if we would make that a one-way? There's only one person that lives on that road, on that avenue, and it wouldn't even affect them because their garage and entry to the garage is on 57th Street. So no one actually would be affected by a one-way. I would just really like to see the consideration of that before we go to the expense of having to cement or pave and do the curb thing, and we're not even sure that would work. So I would like that to be considered. I did have a couple people come up and look at the situation. So, I hope to get feedback from them before the next council meeting. Thank you.
Tamara Rhodes.
Good evening. I wanted to talk a little bit about Spencer's Landing. I'm going to start with the removal of the trees, and I don't want to belabor that. But this long after the trees were removed, no one still is sure as to why that happened. Well, it's been said that a survey needed to be done. However, a survey had been done in 2014 when the property was purchased, and trees don't need to be removed to do a survey. It was said that there were scrub trees. However, we have a forester on staff, and there was not a tree survey done to determine the types of trees and the amount of trees. It was said that the area needed to be cleared for a kayak launch and a road. However, still to this point, there's never been an application with the Corps of Engineers for a kayak launch on the Spencer's Landing property. So I'm not sure why that would happen before anyone even knew whether or not that could be accomplished. So in essence, there was a lot of evidence there that there was wetlands. In 2006, Triad did a Phase 1 environmental risk assessment for Johns Manville, and that was actually performed by Mr. Christopher and another person at Burgess and Naples. In that report, there were 13 mentions of indicators of wetlands, including the plants, the soil, and the hydrology. And he recommended that a full wetlands evaluation be done at that time for the area on the northwest and part of the north side of the property. I called the city to ask if a wetland survey had ever been done, and I was told no, the city did not own that property at the time, and I understand that. However, in 2011, Triad, in their voluntary remediation application, referred to that 2006 study, and also that 2006 study is also in the final approved document for that application. And then in 2020, Mr. Rebar with Downstream Strategies referred to it in his remedial action and completion and final report. So even though that area has basically been destroyed, a wetlands can still be determined. I talked to Vic Elam at the Ohio River Islands National Wildlife Refuge, and he said that that request would have to come from the city, that a person such as myself or any citizen of the city cannot request that a wetlands evaluation be performed. It would be a great area and I'm sure there are some indicators still there. There's even grants out there that will help reestablish a wetlands area that has been destroyed. So that's a possibility as well. So I was up at the Fish and Wildlife Center, the Visitor Center, a while back, and I was talking to them, and we were talking about the birds along the river. And he introduced me to what's called the eBird app on your phone. And people that are birders use that app, and what they do is wherever they're at, when they see a bird, they click the button and click what type of bird it is. And he said in this whole entire area, there's only 2 eBird hotspots. One was at Spencer's Landing, which we know no longer exists. The other one is actually at the 12th Street property. So I think we need to be really careful about what we do with those trees, that we don't destroy another wildlife habitat. And I also wanted to mention, since the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is the one that actually brought the flap grant idea to the city. In my opinion, I think it was probably a slap in the face to them that they were able to support and actually sponsor that grant for the city, and we turn around and destroy something that they're so invested in. So the other concern that I have is where the trees were taken out, and we're supposed to be filling that in with over 2,000 loads of dirt. I've talked to some people. We know there's erosion that's occurred there because it was so bare. Now some grasses and things are starting to grow back. However, the concern is the flow of silt. When all that dirt is brought in, even compacted, the flow of silt into the water can actually be an issue. There is a protected area at the head of Neal Island where the Fish and Wildlife Service actually take the protected and endangered species and relocate them to protect them. If that silt flows downstream, which we will, and silt flows easily, and that protected area gets buried, there's a whole lot of liability that comes with that. The Corps of Engineers would be involved, definitely. So to prevent the liability or fines or costs associated with trying to clean something up after it's done, I would think that possibly that the city may want to contact the Corps of Engineers and have them come in and look at that property, because that was a drainage ditch. We know that the water, there's maps and the reports that were done in the studies, the water flows to the west and northwest on that property, the natural water as well as the rainwater. So you've got that drainage ditch in that direction, and filling that up and affecting the drainage of that can be a major problem for the river. There's Section 404 of the Clean Water Act, as well as Section 10 of the Rivers and Harbors Act. And I would just suggest that someone come in. I don't think it costs anything for the Corps of Engineers engineers to come in and just take a look at that. And if they say it's fine, wonderful, then do it. But get that evaluation prior to doing anything to prevent possibly having an issue down the road that then the city is held liable for. The other thing I found I thought was really interesting, I don't know what it means to the city, but, and I haven't heard it mentioned in any council meetings, but in November, when the bipartisan infrastructure bill was passed, the match for a FLAP grant was removed. And on the FLAP grant webpage, the date of the notice is December 7th. It says a matching grant is no longer required. I don't know, though, whether or not that affects a previous application and approval. And if that application is already in, do you still have to pay that match? I mean, what does that mean? I don't know. That's why you guys get paid the big bucks. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, just because I've never heard anyone say anything about it. So that would be, I mean, if you didn't have to pay that match, that would be a great savings. I don't know what it does to the total amount of the award, you know, if that would come off of that. I have no idea. But anyway, does anyone have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
The minutes from the June 23rd, 2022 council meeting have been printed, posted, and circulated. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If no objections, and the minutes will stand approved as posted. Report of the treasurer, Councilman Leach.
Reconciliation of funds for City of Vienna dated July 8, 2022, excuse me, have been provided. I've reviewed the accounts. They appear in order, and the city is financially solvent.
All right, thank you. We have no unfinished business this evening, so we'll move right into new business. Our first item on the agenda this evening is a bid approval for the salt and de-icer for the streets for the 2022-2023 budget year. Councilman Leach.
Sealed bids for salt de-icer for the 22-2023 budget year were opened Friday, June 24, 2022 at 9 a.m. with the following results. Morton Salt, no bid. Compass Minerals, 102.19 per ton delivered. Cargill, 112.45 a ton delivered. After careful review of bid proposals, the recommendation for council approval from the Budget and Finance Committee for salt is Compass Minerals at 102.19 a ton delivered. Funding for the project is from account 570-5541.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the low bid from Compass Minerals in the amount of $102.19 per ton for salt.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the low bid from Compass Minerals. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the bid from Compass Minerals, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next item on our agenda this evening is the concrete replacement cost for the 2022-2023 budget year. Councilman Leach.
Sealed bids for the cost of concrete replacement were opened on Friday, June 24, 2022 at 9:30 a.m. with the following results. IBS Hydro, Inc., concrete replacement, $116 per square foot. Subgrade replacement, $69 per square foot. Jimmy Harper Construction, concrete replacement, $18 per square foot. Subgrade replacement, $10.50 per square foot. After a careful review of the bid proposals, the recommendation for council approval from the Budget and Finance Committee for concrete replacement for the 2021-2022 budget year is Jimmy Harper Construction at $18 per square foot. Concrete replacement, $10.50 per square foot. For subgrade replacement, funding for this project comes from account 570-6558. And everybody raises their eyebrows, so I'll mention the discussion that I asked Craig about at the Budget and Finance. The IBS Hydro and anybody that had this bid, they don't bid at the volume that we need, and so that large discrepancy in the prices was explained in that way. And if there's any further questions, but like I said, it's kind of an eyebrow raiser, and so we all ask about that. But obviously, having Jimmy Harper Construction capable of doing the type of work at the price that they're proposing seems to be in the best interest of the city.
Craig, any other comments you want to make?
Just difference between local
entertain a motion for the approval of the low bid from Jimmy Harper Construction in the amount of $18 a square foot and $10.50 per square foot for subgrade replacement.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the low bid from Jimmy Harper Construction. Is there any further discussion?
I would like to note that it's actually 2022, 2023, right?
Misspeak.
Well, no, that's what the paper, it was incorrect on the bid sheet. So you read it correctly, but
Memo, she's right. The memo says 2022. It should be 2022, 2023. It's the scrivener's error.
yeah, so I just wanted to clear that up.
I got it. Well, I read it right. Okay.
Yeah,
All
sorry.
right. Anything else? Then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the low bid from Jimmy Harper Construction, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next item on our agenda is the Spencer's Landing Field Project. Councilman Leach.
Sealed bids for the Spencer's Landing Fill project were open on Friday, June 24th, 2022 at 9:45 a.m. with the following results. Single bid from Jimmy Harper Construction at $102 per 18 truckload. After careful review, the bid proposal is a recommendation for council approval from the Budget and Finance Committee for the Spencer's Landing Fill project is Jimmy Harper Construction at $102 per 18-ton truckload. Funding for this project has not been budgeted in the city's general fund and would require a future budget revision.
Craig, before we vote on this one, I'd like you to give a comparison between what it would take for our 10-ton trucks as far as manpower and time-wise to get this job completed.
Yeah.
Can you come up here and use the microphone because people have a hard time hearing? Thank you.
This one? Can you hear me?
Thank you.
When we originally talked about doing this job, to fill a ravine at Spencer's Landing, I want you all to keep in mind that in any of your all's drawings, proposed development at Spencer's Landing, as none of the drawings shows that ravine being there. Okay, it's always been filled in either boat ramp, amphitheater, anything. That ravine has always been destined to be filled in. Okay, now the difference between us doing the work and Harper Construction doing our work, we just gonna go to the top of the hill and what we call cherry pick the dirt. Start taking clay from the top. We had a limited amount of dirt we could get because we got to start getting the rock, and we don't have the equipment or capable of renting equipment to start digging the rock up. I took the contractors over, and when we looked about removing the dirt, I would like, if y'all been over there by the park, Steve knows, right now there's like an 80-foot cliff. There's enemy up top, and they happen to fall off that cliff. It's going to hurt. Okay, somebody's going to get hurt. So I asked the contractors, look, I want you to start to face this dirt pile. I want you to cut back in the hillside and get me a slope pit back on this hillside. Okay, so the 80-foot cliff, I want to put it 3-to-1, take all the rock out, haul the rock, which crush it up as much as you can, haul it down to Spencer's Land for fill. That's why the price difference. We could do it cheaper. I don't know how much dirt we would get. I don't know what deep the seam is on the back side, which is the ball field side, how far I can get back and get dirt. I know you got to remove some trees, but obviously people don't like that. So it'd be cheaper. It would take us longer time. Right now, I don't even have the manpower to do it. I still have 3 employees short, and vacations and COVID is hitting us. And I mean, you get to look at my parking lot at my complex. There's 8 cars parked in it. Usually there's 20. So if we do it in house, it'd probably be September, October before I'd even think about getting it done. Dr. Harper, he said he could get it done in 4 weeks, and he could start on it in 2 weeks. Okay, so I think it's a good investment. So
Somebody falls off that cliff, they're gonna own the city again.
yeah.
Steve, we went through the issue with the cliff several years back because it is a concern for our insurance company. And it's the slope has gotten worse. I mean, it's a straight drop off. So no matter what we do, we're still going to have to take that cliff back so that if, you can't regulate what kids do or anybody does for that matter. If they go up on top of that hill and they get to the face of that and take a step, down they go. Okay? And we still have to have the dirt in order to cover all of the material and stuff that's underneath that foliage that's grown back. So one way or the other, we're going to have to move some of that dirt to make that safe and to slope that hillside back. And it's a perfect opportunity to do both jobs at the same time.
So, Craig, how many truckloads are we talking?
1,111.
113,000?
Yep.
Around about that?
That's what I figured.
Wow.
$113,326. That's at the max, okay? Now, if we get, everything I want to do is fill it in so the water sheet flow off. The sediment erosion control, we put sediment fencing up until it gets re-established the grass, so erosion is not an issue, okay? That's what silt fencing is for.
Well, I mean, for me, I think Tammy brought up a lot of questions. I think we probably need a plan on how we're going to proceed with that versus we're just going to go fill it with dirt. I mean, I don't feel comfortable with that. I understand that what we're asking for this evening is just a bid approval for the cost of to run one truckload, $102, right? Then you would have to come back to council to have the project approved, correct?
We could. Jim, you and I have talked. The permits are already in place. We can do the field work down there. So again, if y'all look at all your preliminary drawings, nowhere does it show that ravine being left in there. It's always showing it being filled. It's either parking lot, soccer field, boat ramp, amphitheater. So.
Well, I have a question about that because
Sure.
On that sheet of paper, it said funding for this project has not been budgeted and will require a future budget revision.
Right.
So are you saying that maybe you would once the bid is approved, then you would just take it out of one of your other line items?
That's up to you and the finance committee where we take it from. The dirt work at the park has always been a public works project. And we've kind of made a mess over the years, letting people go in there and dig, make that cliff. I don't mind absorbing some of the costs in the public works department. We have a coal severance fund. Coal severance fund is for community upgrades, and I think this is a good project for that. I don't have enough to do the whole project. Maybe cost share with coal severance plus with another department. So.
Well, I mean, like I said, and for me
Yeah,
to feel comfortable to approve this tonight,
Right.
I'm going to have several things. A plan, okay? And, to know where the money's coming from. Okay, so because when you're saying $102 for a truckload, that's kind of open-ended. It's, it's like, well, I understand you're saying 1,100 plus truckloads is what you anticipate, but geez, for $102, I mean, can that go to any project we want to do? Because all we're doing is approving
actually
this
it could.
100. So we're already up to $113,000 for this, just to put the dirt in, okay? Plus what the cost of the trees. It seems like if we wanted to create a barrier, which, I mean, geez, I've heard all these different reasons why we had to tear down those trees. If it was just wanting to create a barrier for people to not go into the trees because it was dangerous, I can understand that. I mean, $20,000 worth of fencing may have been a better solution. So I have a lot of questions about this.
Well, the tree removal, the state guy was down there when he's the one suggested tree removal to see what's there to get, I mean, you're going to fill it either way it goes, so you can't fill around trees.
Well, I understand.
And the
Craig,
state-
let me explain something to council. You all may not be aware of this, but Craig is one of a handful of certified floodplain managers in the entire state of West Virginia. There's 4?
6.
6, okay? So to stand here and say to him that he doesn't have a plan or he doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, literally, he's one of 6 qualified people in the state to deal with floodplain issues. So his abilities, the schooling that you just came back from a week, okay, he's more than capable of taking care of the erosion issues and whatever those requirements are as far as that goes. So that's really not an issue for us because we already have someone that's registered with the state as a certified floodplain manager that can do those kind of things. So that part of it, I think we're good on.
I think that's a mischaracterization what I'm saying, Craig. I understand what your certifications are. It's not about that. There's a big question mark upon this that there was a wetland that was disturbed, okay? And
There was never a wetland.
I understand because there was no further assessment done since 2006. Before we owned the property, there were things on there that there was a site assessment done that said, hey, we're seeing, I wrote it down, 13 signs of things that may indicate that we have a wetland, okay? So my concern is, if it's not looked at, do we put ourselves in jeopardy to cause a problem down the river at New Island or whatever? I don't know.
Again, the lady was speaking about sediment. There will be no sediment come off this project because the silt fencing, that's what silt fencing does. It makes that barrier where there's no sediment gets into the river. And I guarantee you there's more sediment come down High River than what I'd ever put in from this project. Okay. So, I mean, if you build a house in Vienna, it causes sediment, storm drains. I mean, if you look at our dry dam structure, that's look at Pond Run. There's a sediment Pond Run. That has nothing to do with field jobs. This is from the natural erosions. And Jack did. I mean, Jack, if you could, you looked at trees. There's no value in them trees down there. There was cottonwoods, there's sumacs, locusts. There's no value in them trees that I took out. Okay. They just river scrub trees.
Correct.
So.
I
know that barrier was there. I know what we're looking at now. We're looking at Mr. Harper's property. It is an eyesore. I understand that, but again, when I look at the drawings that you'll have, any preliminary drawing, it always shows that being filled, and it's not going to get any cheaper. We could not do it now. That's fine. We do it next year, I guarantee it's going to cost $202 truckload. Everything, diesel fuel's going up, cost of everything is going up so drastically. We could wait. It's your choice. It's not going to get any cheaper.
Well, for me to feel comfortable to vote for this tonight, I need to make sure this comes back to council for approval.
The money was.
Yeah.
Well, I think it does require a budget revision. I just want to make a comment. Well, do you have anything else?
No.
Okay. With respect to Tamara's concerns that she's expressed, I agree with what Craig's saying. The silt management is there. The type of fill that's going in there is not a type of fill that lends itself to sediment runoff. It's compactable and it'll be handled that way. And plus, we're talking about developing Spencer's Landing and that swale right there. And I agree with what Jack and Craig both say. This was scrub down there. And also the mayor's commented about the fact that there's also debris in there from previous activities on the property that we don't want to exist. And also, I didn't look or map it out or get a percentage, but my guess is that if that unusable space as it sits right now remained, that's probably 10% of our space down there, right? And also, it would impact all of the development we'd do. I checked. This was never designated wetland. I talked to Tom Rebar. It's not any kind of protected space. It's property that the city of Vienna has invested heavily in and will continue to develop for community use. And the only way that practically is going to be done is to remediate that ravine, get it filled in, get it straightened up, and allow us to move forward. So that's my opinion on the project. As far as I agree with what Kim says, approving this bid tonight for Jimmy Harper and preferring to outsource this versus trying to manage it with the city's resources, particularly given the slope and the scape that we're dealing with on that dirt pile in Jackson Park. I mean, it's dangerous. So I think just in the balance of it, which is what we always have to do, that, that the win-win of getting that slope graded by somebody who has the capability, the equipment, the experience to do it, transfer that to improve our footprint at Spencer's Landing, and to outsource it to accomplish all of those in a timely fashion, just, on balance, seems to be the way to go.
Is there any further discussion? Oh, no. Chris,
Okay.
we'll get to that, but
Yeah, I guess I just have a couple of questions on it. I wasn't here when the hill started to get dug, and, it's unfortunate that we've literally dug ourselves into a hole to where now we have to move this dirt, but that's where we are. That's okay. I would love to get things taken care of. My only question is there a cap on the amount that we are willing to spend on this? Because right now it just says $102 per 18-ton truckload. Do we have once we hit
Yes.
$113,000?
I figured 1,111 truckloads is the max I would need.
Okay.
That's for my cap. But the number I gave you referenced $100,000. That was a cap on the project.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that that's somewhere in writing or something, so we don't come back and say, oh, we actually spent, $300,000.
Yeah, I think Kim's right. Until we do the budget revision, there's no funding for it.
I guess just to clear up the procedure, this is just to lock in the cost more or less.
Right.
And then there'll be a budget revision that would have to be approved before any funds could be expended anyway.
You can set the amount that time, I adjust the truckloads to that point.
Okay.
all right. So I'll entertain a motion for the approval from Jimmy Harper Construction for $102 per 18-ton truckload.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the bid from Jimmy Harper Construction. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of accepting the bid from Jimmy Harper Construction in the amount of $102 per 18-ton truckload, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay? So we move to item number 4. Item number 4 this evening is a resolution approving a $1 per hour pay increase for all concession stand seasonal workers. Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Vienna that it hereby authorizes a pay increase of $1 per hour for all City of Vienna concession stand seasonal workers for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. And the reason why this resolution is on is because when we specifically approved the pay increase, it excluded the seasonal workers. And so Mr. Black came back and showed some numbers that we're at a disadvantage with our concession stand workers. And he's requesting that this be increased by $1 for the seasonal concession stand workers, which would raise them from $10 an hour to $11 an hour. Okay? It's approximately $1,600. And the money is already in the budget because when Steve submitted the numbers, he allowed for that. So there will be no budget revision to cover this. It's simply increasing the seasonal concession stand workers by $1 per hour. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution approving a $1 per hour pay increase for all concession stand seasonal workers.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution approving a $1 per hour pay increase. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the resolution, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. The next item is a resolution approving a mutual termination of purchase and sale agreement between ACE Educational Foundation Incorporated and the City of Vienna regarding property located at 12th Street, Vienna, West Virginia. Our city attorney has requested that we have an executive session this evening, so I'll entertain a motion for an executive session to discuss a legal matter.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded that we go into executive session to discuss a legal matter. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, Motion carries. Let the record reflect we went into executive session